my name is TNTeenager and welcome back to another reaction video. Well, as you know, I've just completed the gameplay of Little Nightmares 2, which I absolutely enjoyed, even though the ending sucked. So, today I'm going to be reviewing the timeline of Little Nightmares with, your very host, Super Horror Bro Mike. I love this guy so much. Like, he does the best commentary for horror games and stuff. Like, I have reacted to one of his videos in the past, and that was actually one of my most popular reaction videos besides the Minecraft cave sounds, which I should get back to probably. Alright, so let's get into this. Okay, so let's go.
Hey guys, Super Horror Bro Mike here, and in this video
Hello, Mike.
Take a step back and look at the big picture as we attempt to set a timeline to the entire Little Nightmares universe.
It's an attempt,
there have been
okay.
3 games in total: Little Nightmares and its
Yes.
DLC, Secrets of the Maw, the mobile spin-off, Very Little Nightmares, and
I have
the
not
full-fledged
seen
sequel,
that game or
Little
played
Nightmares
it. I
2.
should though.
All
I
of
should
these
play
games are connected, but
obviously.
how? Well, sit back, relax, and get ready for a guide through the events of these games in the order that makes most sense, at least to my mind. In addition to nailing down a rough timeline, this video will aim to contextualize various elements using theories that seem most logical.
Okay.
With all of that said, let us begin at the very start of this nightmarish tale, with the origin story found within Very Little Nightmares.
Of course. Sorry, I just needed to check. And, yeah.
Released as a mobile offshoot back in 2019, Very Little Nightmares was a touchscreen puzzle game with a very different art style. It used hand-drawn visuals to tell the story of a character which at first glance appeared to be our heroine Six.
Yeah, I assumed that
too. Using
too.
this familiar character, players explored an old mansion built atop a tall cliff face in the middle of the ocean, a place known as the Nest.
Yeah, there we go.
It is eventually revealed that this character is not Six. Her name is simply the girl in the yellow raincoat. A raincoat she eventually loses as she plummets.
Yeah, see that girl up there? That was Six.
Chased by a monstrous child known as the Pretender.
Yes.
We can clearly see from her haircut that this girl is not Six. However, Six does feature throughout the game.
that's her.
A fellow prisoner who ends up fleeing the nest alongside the girl in the yellow raincoat and escaping on a raft after her companion met a watery grave.
We thought that Little Nightmares 1,
Little
Nightmares 2 was a sequel to this.
After leaving
Little
the
Nightmares
shore
1.
of the nest aboard her raft and scooping it out of the water, then being picked up by the mysterious boatman character and taken to the
We didn't
mall,
really see him
or
that
perhaps
much.
simply washing up beside it and finding her way inside. This speculation is now proven incorrect.
Exactly. Which we all hate. Little Nightmares 2.
Little Nightmares 2 takes place in the weeks and months after the story of Very Little Nightmares. Well, there are several reasons to make this connection. If we look at the digital comics, which acts as a precursor to the events of the sequel, we see Six without raincoat and looking as if she just stepped off the raft at the end of the mobile game. She is captured by the Hunter, a haunting sight that her would-be companion Mono witnesses, and seemingly the reason he sets off to free Six at the beginning of Little Nightmares 2. When we finally discover Six, there are several key points of interest found within her prison room.
The music box is one of them,
the music
probably.
box, an item comforting her during her imprisonment. We see a representation of this music box at the end of the game, Monster Six holding it with extreme importance. In fact, the signal tower uses this box to corrupt and bind her to its spell. Although referenced in the first Little Nightmares game, this scene in Little Nightmares 2 seems to be Six's first introduction to the item and the reason for its hold over her. She connected with it as a coping mechanism during a time of great emotional trauma in her childhood. Also look to the chalk sketches on the walls, presumably the work of Six while being held here. The tally marks are easy enough to explain. They signify a passing of time, maybe days, weeks, or months. Six has, after all,
maybe
been
not
here
months.
for a while. We also see Six has drawn an image of the signal tower. This drawing is almost an exact match for those scenes sketched by the bullies within the schoolhouse.
Exactly.
To me, this suggests the signal tower has already begun calling to Six and hypnotizing her with its corrupt transmission, much as we see with the other wretched creatures of this world. In fact, later in the game, as the two adventurers pass by the tower, Six stares up at it as if under a spell. This may well be why she was so easily manipulated, distorted and corrupted while held prisoner within. The tower already held sway over her mental state. But most interesting of all, the sketches are for people we have seen before. People with their faces scratched out, as if to suggest they are now dead.
MS Paint,
the sketch
probably.
on the far right represents a person falling. Remember back to the final moments of Very Little Nightmares.
I never made that
the
connection.
Yellow raincoat who fell to her death at the hands of the Pretender. It seems this sketch represents her. But then, what about the others? Well, for now we must move on, but don't worry, we'll be back to revisit these sketches at the end of this video.
Good.
You may be asking, what about the yellow raincoat? Why did Six not have this key item if this game follows on directly from the events of Very Little Nightmares?
Please tell us.
This is actually fairly easy to speculate on. The main point to bear in mind is that while we see Six about to leave the shore of the nest aboard the driftwood raft, we never see her collect up the floating raincoat. It is therefore logical to conclude this raincoat took the same tide as Six and washed up ashore near the Pale City. However, unlike Six, it was not collected up by the hunter, but rather a denizen of the city itself. Eventually, its wearer was either taken by the signal tower, once again leaving the coat behind, or it was simply discarded. After all, these city streets are full of discarded junk at every turn.
Maybe.
This is why Six finds it far from shore, yet looks on it as if it holds some connection to her previously, reminding her of the child who helped her escape not too long ago. One more thing
that's a good theory.
Connects Six to the events of Very Little Nightmares preceding this game can be seen by her uncomfortable demeanour while riding the floating door across the river mouth here. It makes sense when we remember she had recently escaped a traumatic experience within the nest using the exact same means, an escape method which led to her capture by the hunter. Skipping to the end of the adventure, Six is taken by Thin Man and imprisoned once again, this time within the walls of the signal tower itself.
Yes.
Here, its distorted signal twists and corrupts Six.
That was such an intense chase scene.
To anyone who has encountered monsters such as Roger the Janitor.
Yes.
The signal tower uses Thin Man's power to warp and distort reality, which ravages the world and does exactly the same to poor Six.
Yes.
More importantly, it pulls from her memories to create a prison for her. While examining the items found within this room, many look eerily familiar. Again,
it's from
we
the
will
first
revisit
game.
this
There you go.
concept at the end of this video. Mono eventually manages to cure Six by destroying the music box, an item, as stated before, which binds her to this monstrous form. This leads to the signal tower revealing its true form, a living mass of flesh made up from the bodies of those it consumes.
Wow,
While
really?
escaping,
That's why
Molly
there's no
drops behind
clothes?
Six, and she grabs his hand to prevent him falling, but decides in a cruel turn of events to let her friend fall. Most likely because she senses the darkness calling him from within, and has witnessed Mono's dangerous powers, which she feels threatened by. Of course, Six unwittingly dooms the world by doing this. Mono is imprisoned by the signal tower, and his powers used to distort and warp the world throughout space and time. This creates a time paradox where Mono has always been Thin Man and so calls out to his past self so he may be freed.
There we go. Everyone's saying that he's like the
and
next
finally
Thin
have a
Man.
chance
No,
to
he's
break
the
cycle,
Thin Man.
saving the world and its inhabitants from this terrible fate.
Oh. Here we go. Now, the
Six
first
leaves
game.
the signal tower, but part of her now belongs to it. As seen with the glitching remains of the ghost children we find throughout Little Nightmares 2, her connection to Mono and the tower separates Six's soul from her body. Now incomplete, the loss of Six's soul leaves a great empty void. A void which must be satisfied.
That's her soul, the
This
glitchy
is
self.
the birth of Six's hunger. A hunger we contend with throughout the very first Little Nightmares game.
Yes.
Confirming Little Nightmares 2 is indeed the second game in the timeline and a prequel to the events of the original.
Yes.
We also note that Six's spirit energy looks down at a poster of the Maw, suggesting the TV6 exits the tower through is either aboard the Maw or she is given the idea to head there in order to gain access to the power she needs to be cured. Powers she
Probably.
eventually procures from Sorceress the Lady. With this information in hand, the first game is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
This is the third in the timeline, continuing Six's story as her hunger begins to destroy
runaway
her
kid.
from within. The ending of Little Nightmares 2 also sheds light on a possible explanation for the shadow
Oh,
of
I never
Six
saw that
watches
one.
over her
Oh.
each time she feasts.
Okay.
This is the half of her lost after escaping the signal tower.
Uh-huh.
This hunger requires soul energy to properly quench its thirst, replacing elements of the soul Six herself has lost.
And
This
the glitchy
explains
self
why,
is the
in a
elements
cruel
that
twist
she's
of
lost.
Fate, Six eats the gnome child and not the sausage it offers up to her.
Yeah.
It also explains why, upon killing the lady and consuming her dark magic, Six then uses said power to drain the life force from everyone else aboard the Maw. She has become a monster herself, a monster with a never-ending hunger, sucking the life from anything that stands in her way.
Uh-huh.
So, let's tie up some loose ends and wrap up this video. Returning to Six's chalk drawings in the hunter's house, and things suddenly click. Starting at the signal tower and working backwards reveals our timeline. It shows past and future, but not yet present. To explain, look to the far right, and we
Okay.
see events as they happen before Little Nightmares 2. The death of the girl in the yellow raincoat as she plunged to a watery grave.
Okay.
Then we see tally marks representing a passage of time. These lead to an empty gap. But why is this empty? Well, because it marks the current period of time for which the outcome is not yet determined. But
No,
perhaps this could
maybe.
be filled in with mono, like so. Moving on, we see another passing of time and then a drawing of the runaway boy and his gnome. This was the character found in the DLC Secrets of the Maw, which ran in sync with the events of Six's adventure in the original game. Another character who died by Six's hand as seen earlier in the video.
Yes.
Finally, another
That was
shorter
such a
passage
messed
of
up
time
end.
and the death of the lady. This brings us bang up to date
Oh.
with the story of Little Nightmares as we know it, and everything ties in to that image at the back of this room, the signal tower itself. What's interesting about the placement of the signal tower drawing is how it's sketched upon a different wall surface. To me, this makes sense as the signal tower exists on a separate plane of existence within time and space, a dimension where time is fluid and past, present and future are as one. This explains why we see items from Six's past and future within this same room. Take for
Maybe.
example her suitcase from the Maw. It doesn't exist in her memories as of the story of Little Nightmares 2, but can still appear in her prison within the tower due to its ability to draw from events still to occur.
I'm
Look
starting to
these
get this now,
portraits, for
Mike. I'm
example,
starting to get
and
this.
Again, we see a timeline represented right to left. At the far right, we see Six as a child, cowering in her raincoat. Then, in the centre, an image representing the lady, her face scratched away to represent her demise.
What's to the
On
left?
the left, we see a horrifying face, but one that seems familiar in a way. It looks similar to that of a granny found in the depths of a Maw.
Yes.
I had theorised previously that this granny is what would eventually become of the lady as her powers ravaged her body over time. The pretender from Very Little Nightmares, the next in line to take the lady's place after she herself took the place of the previous granny. Again, it's all one big cycle. It seems as Six consumed the lady's power, she may be in for a similar fate, to become disfigured and monstrous over time. This portrait showing Six in the
there is not going to be a Little Nightmares 3. I'm sorry, guys.
If Little Nightmares 3 does happen, we will witness this horrifying transformation. Unless Mono finds a way to escape his Thin Man fate and break the time paradox, that is. One question remains. How is Six able to draw from memories of her future?
The signal tower.
Memories she shouldn't yet have access to. Well, if we think about the names Six and Mono and what they represent in literal terms,
Mono
we
means
can jump
one,
to
I
some
know
logical
that.
conclusions. Mono means one, only,
Yes.
or single. This makes sense, as the origin of this terrifying world falls to Mono and his fate as Thin Man within the Signal Tower. There is only one Mono, and he is the ground zero event which triggers everything before and after. While running toward the door Thin Man is trapped behind, if we pay close attention, we can see the number 6.
Yeah, I
This
saw
suggests
that
this
in like
door is
the
number 6,
camera
and therefore
thing.
the 6th cycle within this paradox.
The 6th
If so,
one?
then 6 has her name due to being the catalyst for this particular cycle.
The
She triggers
catalyst.
the events that doom this world each time when handing over Mono to the Signal Tower's control.
Wait. So this has
If
all
this
happened
theory
6
is correct,
times.
then 6 is simply the 6th of her kind, with 5 prior versions existing in different failed timelines. So, with this concept in mind, we can conclude 6 may retain faint memories of her 5 prior incarnations. Of course, this is a stretch, but this is the only way the rest of this theory makes sense, and why else feature the number 6 on the door here, and use such numerical terms for both protagonists. Either way, that head-scratching conundrum brings us to the end of this video looking at the timeline of the Little Nightmares universe. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, remember to leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for more horror-related content. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.
Thank you for making this video, Mike. So, that was an interesting video. I actually do believe that. I'm glad that he took note of this stuff. Like, I saw the 6 written on the door, I was like, what does it mean? I mean, I know there's a character named 6. It all makes sense now. It makes sense. It really does. That's it? That's how it ends? It still didn't give us answers about what happened in Little Nightmares 1? Like, what's gonna happen? Why are people theorizing of 6 being the lady, then? If Mono's the Thin Man? Like, I thought it was a stretch, because, like, if Mono's in a time loop, then he's the only one. 6 isn't the lady. Is she? But she isn't. After watching this, she isn't the lady. Sorry, everyone. But seriously, though, I wish there would be a third installment to the game. I mean, Little Nightmares 2 was technically the 3rd installment, but I mean, a Little Nightmares 3. Or another mobile game. Or more comics, even. A TV show, maybe. But I've read news, guys. Sorry, but they're not going to make any more Little Nightmares games. Tarsier Studios and Bandai Namco have moved on. They're going to different titles now. It sucks, I know, that they still have not answered our questions about what happens, but then again, they kind of did at the same time, because they answered questions that we didn't even know needed answers. Like, why is everyone a monster? Why is all this happening? It's all because of that tower, obviously. And they've given us speculation on how events have happened. So, yeah. This was an interesting video to watch, because it did give me a bit of insight on what could have happened in that specific period of time. Alright, so, yeah, I'll react to Lazy Purple and more Minecraft stuff next week. Alright, I'll see you all in the next video. I hope you all stay safe out there. Goodbye.